Do nice guys ever win? In the short term, yes. In the long term, no. This is why nice guys befriend girls and then get friend zoned, and she ends up choosing somebody else. It's the reason that nice guys feel perpetually frustrated. In here, we are privately very frustrated and even maybe a little angry at times with life because nice guys win in the short term, but we lose in the long term. Why is that? Well, it leads to my first point. I call it the nice guy problem. Here's the nice guy problem. You're not actually being true to yourself, and people know it. You aren't actually being who you need to be. Here's what you're doing. You're seeking validation from everybody around you. So this is not your fault. I get it. I've been a nice guy. That's how I navigated all of my relationships, especially my relationships with women up until I met my wife. That's how I navigated, was being the nice guy. It's not your fault. Here's why. The culture has told you that the best type of man is a man who's nice. But gentlemen, you have to understand this. You are not called to be nice. I've always called niceness the false 11th commandment. We have the 10 commandments, and people want to scratch in there. They scribble an 11th commandment. Always be nice. That's not in scripture. Jesus was kind, but Jesus was not nice. You need to be kind, but you do not need to be nice. Being nice means being a doormat. Being nice means that you're seeking validation from other people. Being nice means that you don't stand on your principles, you don't stand on your conviction, you don't stand up to people, you don't stand up for yourself, you don't walk away from situations in which your principles are being violated. Instead, because you so badly want to be accepted by everybody around you, whether it's a stranger or your group of friends, you don't actually say what you really think. You say what you want other people, what you think other people want to hear. Now, this can be extreme and you can have a totally, you can be putting on a complete front with people, or it can just be in little circumstances, just sprinkled out throughout your interaction. You can be being a nice guy. But here's the problem, the nice guy problem. It's not true that the world needs or wants really nice guys. So in our feminist culture, our very egalitarian culture that we have all grown up in and been inundated in, you have been taught that being nice is the best way. And it's not true. Because even though the reason that nice guy gets friend zoned by the girl is even though he's nice to her, even though he may say flattering things to her, even though this guy's a bit of a jerk and he may say some things that hurt her feelings here and there, and I'll never hurt her feelings, and so on and so forth, even though he is all of those things, whenever he gets to the end, he gets friend zoned. Why? Because no matter how bad we try to say that it's not the case, guys, no matter how bad we try to get everybody to just agree that this is how things need to work, at the end of the day, men only respect men who stand on their convictions, and women only want to follow a man who knows what he's about, knows what he's doing, and has a direction in life he knows that he's going. Women do not want to feel like they are your mission. They don't want to be worshiped. They don't want to be put up on a pedestal. Here's what they want. They want to be your queen. They want for you to be seeking to rule a kingdom and expand your kingdom, expand your domain. And they're looking for what they're hoping for is that a high value king who values his kingdom and is expanding his domain, trying to grow his sphere of influence and grow his power and his wealth and his house to do things, they are hoping that you'll select them to say, hey, come rule my kingdom with me and give me a bloodline to inherit the kingdom that I'm building. Come with me and build this with me. They are not looking for somebody to come along and worship them. They're not hoping for somebody to come along and put them up on a pedestal. They're looking for somebody who will be honest, he will be humble, he will have integrity, He'll never be crude. He'll be kind, but he's not going to be a nice guy. Instead, he's going to be a guy who's true and honorable and courageous, and who's not afraid to say things with courage and with passion, and who will look at her and say, "I know you feel that way. I'm sorry, but that's not what's going to happen here. This is actually what we're going to do. This is the direction that we're going." She wants to trust that you're a competent, wise leader who knows the direction you're going. So the nice guys don't win because the nice guys aren't being true. Here's what nice guys are doing. This still is a part of the nice guy problem. If you're a nice guy, you're actually always avoiding conflict. You're suppressing the truth and you're seeking validation from other people instead of standing firm. So again, whether you put on a complete front or if it's just a little sprinkled instances, you take a girl out on a date, and I'm using this as the example because this is kind of the prime place where nice guys really the rubber meets the road and it just smacks them in the face. In other instances, we can kind of get away with it. But specifically with dating, if you're taking her on a date and you're just being yourself, but then she asks something, let's use politics. And she's, a lot of these men are just so misogynistic. They're just so misogynistic. Let's just say she says that. Maybe she's not even liberal. She just says that. Are you going to avoid the conflict and agree? Are you going to try to find the middle ground? Yeah, I can see how. Or are you going to go with what your gut really knows? No, men are not misogynistic. And you can say it in a kind way, especially if it's your first date or third date or whatever. But here's what you do instead. You say, I understand why you may feel that way, but my experience has been that's not true at all. And so I'm not discounting your experience, but truly, most guys worship women. And it's actually never been better to be a woman ever than right now. So the culture is not misogynistic. It's actually very anti-men. And if she has a problem with that, then you need to be cool with just going, I don't think this is going to work, and drop her off. Maybe still take her on the date, but drop her off at her place at the end of the night and be done with it, because that's not somebody you want to be with. A nice guy kind of, he doesn't really, he kind of mealy-miley's his way through it because he doesn't want to have conflict, because he thinks that he needs to be nice. You are called to be kind. You are not called to be nice. Nice guys are doormats. They get walked on, they get walked over. Being a nice guy is not the godlier way. Being a kind but bold, principled, passionate, zealous man is the Christ-like way. So you need to stop equating niceness with godliness. So number 2, this kind of ties into number 1. Biblical masculinity versus cultural niceness. Jesus was highly compassionate, but Jesus was never passive. He was not passive one time. He confronted the Pharisees. He didn't appease them. He confronted the Pharisees. He flipped freaking tables and whipped people, and he spoke the truth, and it offended people. He spoke the truth so boldly, they killed him for it. He was not mealy-miley. I hate these modern depictions that we have of Jesus where he's real thin and fair-toned and he just kind of like esoterically just like floats from one place to the next. No, that is the modern garbage feminist idea of Jesus. It is not the real Jesus, who was a carpenter, who I can speak as a carpenter. Dude had massive forearms. I know that. He probably had yoked out shoulders. And he was not afraid to turn around to a crowd of people who were following him, and say, "You are of your father, the devil. You are of your father, the devil. You brood of vipers." He said that. The temple court was 26 acres. He flipped the tables and drove people out of the temple court. If you watch a modern depiction, they have him flip like 3 tables. And they have him like kind of whipping, So no, he drove them out with a whip. 26 acres. That's huge. That's like a high school campus. Jesus was working for hours, whipping people and flipping tables. Why? Because he knew what he was about and he knew why he was doing what he was doing. You need to have that same frame of mind and idea with your principles. You do not need to be culturally nice. Screw the culture. Did you know there was a study done that showed that When men have higher levels of testosterone, they're more likely to do what they think is right and say what they think is right, regardless of how much side effect it may cause, regardless of how much damage it may cause. And when they have lower testosterone, men are much more likely to only say and do things that they think other people will accept. AKA, nice guys, literally through their actions, are demonstrating that they are acting in a way of low testosterone. Now, I'm not saying guys go take testosterone. What I am saying is, in the same way those hormones can affect your behavior, we know your behavior does affect your hormones. If you begin to act in a more bold way, you can literally retroactively raise your testosterone, unless you have some sort of medical condition. Or you can just keep being the nice guy. Let's look at Proverbs. Or go take a look at Proverbs. Proverbs was written by King Solomon, the wisest man to ever live outside of Jesus himself. And he wrote Proverbs in such a way to where it's directed to young men. It's directed to you. Proverbs is a letter to you written by the wisest man who ever lived outside of Jesus himself. You will never meet a mentor. You're not going to watch somebody on YouTube. You're not going to read a book in which somebody is wiser than Solomon unless it's Jesus himself. And what does he say? King Solomon, you know what he did? He praised honesty. He praised courage. And he praised speaking the truth, regardless if it offended people. You know what he does? Or what else he does? He rips flattery. He rips flattery. He said flattery is cowardice. Flattery is wicked. Now, I know none of us are trying to be wicked when we're being nice guys. We've been whipped into this idea that we need to be nice guys because that's what the culture says they want. But gentlemen, men don't like nice guys and women don't like nice guys. Nice guys are just simply non-threatening. That's like a rabbit. Like, yeah, a rabbit's cute and you kind of pet the rabbit and like, yeah, I got nothing against rabbits. But think about a German Shepherd. Lethal. That's a lethal dog. We use them for the military. The police use German Shepherds. They are smart. They have a high capacity of aggression. And a lot of people, and fair enough, are a little uneasy around German Shepherds because it's like, is this a good German Shepherd? Is this a bad German Shepherd? When that German Shepherd is properly trained, they're the best freaking dogs on the planet because of their capacity for violence, because of how lethal they can be. Being a nice guy is being a rabbit. You're choosing to be a rabbit rather than choosing to be a freaking German Shepherd. You're choosing to be a nice little passive, rabbit rather than a lion that roars, that has its mane. And our culture hates it. It hates men like that. It thinks it does, but yet the boldest men are the men who get followed, not the nice guys. Stop being nice, thinking that it's godliness, biblical masculinity. Rather, Proverbs 28 says this: the righteous are as bold as a lion. That's Proverbs 28, verse 1. Are you as bold as a lion? Or are you as meek as a rabbit? You need to be as bold as a lion. So being a man of God means that you may be hated, but you are respected because you still stand firm. Would you rather not be respected, but people like you? Or would you rather even your enemies respect you? Nobody respects a rabbit. People respect German Shepherds. People may not, there's a lot of people that do not like Donald Trump, but they respect him. You may think, oh, well, they say very disrespectful things. Yeah, they say disrespectful things, but they also know when he says he's going to do something, he freaking does it. They also know Trump is true to himself, and he doesn't BS people with a front. Trump simply is himself in front of all people. Now, I'm not saying let's all go act like Trump, but what I am saying is the principle in there you need to grasp. The nice guy wins in the short term. All those politicians for in the 2015 election, some of us may be too young for that. The 2015 election, there's a lot of nice Republicans up there smiling. They had perfect smiles and they had their wife on their shoulder. And well, I actually believe in, and yet Trump goes on and wins while saying, you have little hands. Hillary is crooked. He called Marco Rubio Little Marco and said something about his hands. Said, you're little Marco, you're lying Ted, you're crooked Hillary, you're sleepy Joe. All these people are dumb, and I know how to fix it because they're all cowards who are only going to say what you want to hear. And the dude's been elected twice after losing the second one, regardless of that. Okay, so final point. Do nice guys ever win? Do they ever win? The real answer. Nice guys get short-term approval, but they lose respect, they lose their mission, and they lose the long-term fruit. The nice guy gets the short-term approval of the girl, but they lose the respect of the girl and of the other guys. They lose sight of their mission. They get lost in the sauce, and they do not reap the long-term fruit because they did not sow the long-term fruit. So men who embody courage and strength and conviction while rooted, still rooted in love, not being abusive with our speech, but being honest with our speech. Honesty does not mean beating around the bush for 2 minutes. Honesty means saying something kindly, but directly and true. Stop using 9,423,000 words to qualify what you're about to say and simply say it. The call that we have on our lives is not to be nice. It's to be a good man. You're called to be a good man, not a nice man, a good man, a godly man, a strong man. You are not called to be weak. You are not called to be threatless. Threatless as a rabbit. We all like rabbits because rabbits are all nice. Yeah, but nobody respects the rabbit. Plus, what happens whenever the wolves come along? When the wolves come along and all the men are rabbits, everybody's devoured. But when the wolves come along and the men are freaking dogs, they are German shepherds, they have a high capacity for violence and for aggression and to actually damage things, they're able to actually protect their people and fend off the wolves. So my final charge to you is this. Do the nice guys ever win? Yeah, in the short term, they get that approval, but they lose respect, they lose their mission, and they lose the long-term fruit. Stop seeking validation. Stop it. Instead, seek only the approval of God. Only the approval of God. Boldness wins. Truth wins. Men of God win. Niceness. Being unoffensive. Just being somebody that everybody likes. Trying to avoid other. No. You get short-term approval. You may get a lot of followers on Instagram for a little bit. But people don't respect you. They don't respect you. So earn that respect. It's very easy, guys. You don't got to do something. You don't got to go be David Goggins. What you got to do is this. What are my principles? What do I believe? In what direction am I going? Okay, I'm doing that. And I stand by it. Yeah, guys, no, I love y'all, but I don't drink anymore. I'm not going out with y'all on Friday. Oh, bro, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, no, I'm not casting any judgment on y'all, but I don't do that anymore. I'll play some COD. I'll be on COD tonight if you guys wanna hop on, or I'll go hit the gym. Oh, you think you're such a blah blah blah? If you want to draw that conclusion, that's fine. But I literally know that I'm not that, so I don't care that you accuse me of that. The whole world could get together and point a finger at the sky and say, "It's green, don't you see?" I'd look up and go, "It's blue." In the same way, the whole world can point a finger at me and say, "You're this, you're that, you're this," and I can go, "I know I'm not." You need to have that same conviction. Know what you stand on. So, gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Really wanted to tackle this topic, like I said, because this was the second most voted topic 3 weeks in a row. So I'm glad we finally got to tackle it. Make sure that you answer the poll within Sons of Strength to vote on next week's episode. And for the non-members that have currently tuned in, thank you guys for tuning in. I encourage you, hop into Sons of Strength. It is $9 a month. We have 45 guys in there, and we are keeping each other accountable. We have a monthly challenge. We're about to start the 7-Day Savage Challenge. We're tackling anxiety. We're tackling depression. We're tackling lust. We're tackling not having a call in your life. We're tackling masculine identity. We're tackling it all. So hop into Sons of Strength. I'll put the link in the bio below. Love you guys, and I'll see you on Theology and Tactics.